Most people have no idea what EMTs and paramedics really do. We've trained thousands of people just like you to become an EMT or a paramedic. This training is done in a fast, fun, and affordable way. It doesn't require a college degree, and you can make more money than you probably think. So, if you like helping people, this may be exactly what you've been looking for. As Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. In this video, we're going to explore the world of EMTs and paramedics, what they do, how they got there, and whether it might be the right career for you. Plus, learn how you can do a ride-along and see this world up close. Who are the people who respond to emergencies? When you call 911, the first people you see are usually EMTs and paramedics. They're trained to handle a wide range of emergencies from car accidents to heart attacks. These professionals are on the front lines, providing critical care right where it's needed most. So how did they get that job? It starts with a desire to help others, but it also takes dedication and training. EMTs typically start with a basic certification course, which includes classroom learning, hands-on practice, and clinical and EMS time. After that, they need to pass a certification exam to work in the field. Paramedics, on the other hand, go through more advanced training, often through a degree program, and learn how to perform more complex medical procedures. Both roles require ongoing education to stay current in the field. What's the difference between EMS, an EMT, and a paramedic? EMS stands for Emergency Medical Services. It's a broad umbrella term to describe all of the components of the system designed to help sick and injured people. It's kind of like the term healthcare when describing hospitals, clinics, and other places designed to help sick people. The term EMS includes public ambulance services, private ambulance services, fire departments, and first responders, like corporate first responders, police officers with medical training, lifeguards, park rangers, search and rescue crews, and ski patrol. What are the different EMS certification levels? Well, at the very bottom, the lowest level is called an EMR, Emergency Medical Responder. From there, it goes on to EMT, and then an advanced EMT, and paramedic. Now, you may hear these called different things depending on where you are, but these are the national registry terms, and we'll talk more about that as we go. To keep this video short, we're going to focus on the EMT and paramedic certifications, because most people are going to go from EMT and then on to paramedic. What's the difference between an EMT and a paramedic? It mainly comes down to training and what they're allowed to do on the job. EMTs are trained to provide basic life support, things like CPR, oxygen administration, and basic wound care. Paramedics, on the other hand, are trained in advanced life support. They can start IVs, administer medications, and perform more complex procedures. Both roles are vital, but paramedics have more training and can handle more critical situations. What skills can you do as an EMT? EMTs take care of patients in an emergency. They can do patient assessment, vital signs, splinting and bandaging, and they can even deliver a baby. They can give some medications like nitroglycerin, aspirin, albuterol, oxygen, an EpiPen, or a metered dose inhaler. They can also check blood sugar. They can perform CPR. They can also perform airway maneuvers and insert what are called airway adjuncts. They can also suction and provide ventilations using a BVM or bag valve mask. What can paramedics do? They can do all of the things that an EMT can do and more. You have to be an EMT first before you can be a paramedic. Now, there are some changes, at least here in Texas, where some people are able to go from no training right to paramedic, but they are taking that EMT class in the middle. Paramedics are the highest level of pre-hospital care EMS provider. They are the leaders of the EMS team. They perform assessments and make decisions on how to care for the patient. They can perform a wide variety of critical care skills in any environment. They can do surgical airways. They can do intubation, and that's where they're going to put a tube down their throat. If you've ever had a surgery, you might have been intubated by an anesthesiologist. They can interpret 12-lead EKGs and determine whether or not somebody is having a heart attack, and if they are, we will call ahead and activate the cath lab so they're ready when they get there. They can administer emergency medications. They can insert a needle into the bone to give medications, and they can even insert a needle into the chest if somebody has a collapsed lung. How do they know what to do? The simple answer is we use something called a flow chart or algorithm, and these provide a path for us to follow. Here's an example of one of the algorithms. It starts in the upper left with scene size up. What we're doing when we approach the scene is we're looking around and we're looking at everything and we're trying to see what dangers there are to us. We're doing a quick general impression of the patient, and then we're going to look and see if we need additional resources, the mechanism of injury, and several other things in that first step. From there, we're going to do an initial assessment, and that usually involves doing an assessment of the airway, breathing, and circulation. And then depending on whether it's a medical medical or trauma patient determines which path we go down. How do you know what treatment to perform? So one of the questions we often get asked is, how do you know what to do or what treatment to perform? In Texas, when an EMS provider runs a call, they are able to give medications and treatments without having to contact medical control first. Where do they work? EMTs and paramedics don't just work on ambulances. Many start working on an ambulance, but there are many other opportunities. Some work in hospitals, assisting in ERs, or critical care units. Others might work for a fire department or even in specialized areas like air medical services, where they transport patients by helicopter or a plane. Here's an example of the ambulance that we work in, and a lot of people think ambulances are very large. They are not. Fire departments. In Texas, all paid firefighters are required to be at least an EMT. But not all EMTs are required to be firefighters. Fire departments typically have 2 to 3 times the number of fire apparatus compared to the number of ambulances. So in Central Texas, for every ambulance, there's usually about 3 fire apparatus. There are more firefighters than there are ambulances, and there's more firefighters than there are paramedics. EMS personnel can also work in special operations. Here we show them working in a tactical environment as a tactical medic. They can do high-angle and low-angle rescue, or they can be hazmat medics, or they can work in the military. This is an example of an Air Force PJ. You can see that by the little patch there that says PJ, which stands for pararescue, and they call them PJs. But they are paramedics who basically go in and rescue downed pilots or people who are injured behind an enemy line. So how else can this training help me? If you want to be a doctor, EMT certification is required for some medical schools. Being an EMT gets you patient contact much sooner than any other profession. It helps you get used to talking to patients. This is a certification that could help and probably not hurt your chances of getting in. Paramedics are consistently listed as one of the most trusted professions in Reader's Digest polls. Every employer wants someone who knows what to do in an emergency. An EMT certification always stands out on your resume. Another reason to become an EMT or paramedic, you'll be given a front row seat to some of the most interesting situations you can imagine. You can't make this stuff up and have it be as interesting. I've seen things you wouldn't believe. Truth really is stranger than fiction. I've been on EMS standbys with Willie Nelson, Matthew McConaughey, former Texas Governor George W. Bush, Michael Dell, and the Dixie Chicks. Once, while working as a bike medic at an EMS standby for the visiting president of Mexico, I ended up in the crosshairs of the security team's sniper. I was a young medic who was excited to see the motorcade, so I started riding fast in their direction. Apparently, I was deemed a threat, and it caught the attention of their sniper. Later, they said to me, whenever the motorcade starts approaching, stay still, don't move. I'll never do that again. Medical knowledge is powerful. You'll be given the respect of friends and family. You'll have increased self-confidence. This knowledge is lightweight, and it travels well. It can be used anywhere in the world, such as missions trips, Doctors Without Borders, or even your own neighborhood. What personal qualities make someone successful in EMS? First and foremost, you need to be calm under pressure. Emergencies can be chaotic, and staying focused is key to making the right decisions. Compassion is another essential quality. You're often dealing with people who are scared, in pain, or facing the worst day of their lives, and your ability to provide comfort and reassurance can make a huge difference. Teamwork is also critical. EMS is rarely a solo job, and being able to work effectively with your partner and other emergency responders is crucial. Lastly, resilience. Both physical and mental is important. The job can be physically demanding, with long hours and challenging conditions, and mentally it can be tough to handle the emotional strain. But if you have these qualities, a career in EMS can be incredibly rewarding. So what does a day in the life of an EMT or paramedic actually look like? Well, no 2 days are ever the same. On one call, you might be responding to a car crash, and the next, you could be helping someone having a heart attack. You might be called to a home where someone has fallen, or you could be providing life-saving care on the way to the hospital. It's fast-paced, unpredictable, and yes, it can be stressful. What are the physical and mental demands? Being an EMT or paramedic is not just about the medical knowledge. It's also physically and mentally demanding. You might have to lift heavy patients, work long hours, and deal with high-stress situations. It takes a lot of physical strength and mental resilience to do this job well. With the right training and support, you can build the skills you need to thrive in this environment. How much do you get paid? Salaries can vary depending on where you work and your level of experience. It's actually very hard to say exactly how much they make because depending on where you're watching this video, you could easily argue, well, EMTs in this area make this, or paramedics in my area make that. So I'm going to paint with broad strokes, and I'm going to try and kind of limit this to Central Texas. On average, EMTs can expect to make around $40,000 a year. And remember, that's for a 4-month education. That's pretty decent. That's a good starting wage. Paramedics, on the other hand, earn between $50,000 to $70,000 a year or more in some areas. In Central Texas, if you work enough overtime, you can make 6 figures. That's not too bad for a year to a year and a half worth of education. There are people with bachelor's and master's degrees who aren't making that level of income. While the pay is important, many in this field say the real reward is knowing they make a difference in people's everyday lives. What kind of hours do you work? The answer to this depends on where you work. You might be working 24 hours on and 48 hours off. That would be 1 day on and 2 days off. Some agencies have gone to 2 days on and 4 days off. Some work a variety of 12-hour shifts, and hopefully you can sleep for some of these shifts. One thing to consider is that if you have animals and you live alone, then being gone for a day or 2 at a time can be stressful, and you may need to have somebody else go take care of your pets. What's the job outlook like? According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, employment of EMTs and paramedics is projected to grow 5% from 2022 to 2032, and that's faster than average for all occupations. What are the career advancement opportunities? Many EMTs go on to paramedics. Paramedics can advance to roles like EMS supervisor, instructor, community health paramedic, or into management positions within an EMS organization. Some move into related fields like fire service and healthcare administration. Some people also change careers and go on to nursing, PA school, or even medical school. So we've talked about the glitz and glamour of EMS, but let's talk about some of the realities of it. The pay could be low. There are many other jobs that pay more than EMS. You're caring for sick and injured people, and that's hard. You'll be exposed to blood, vomit, urine, feces, and smells. If you're familiar with the homeless problem that we have in Central Texas, homeless people will be in the back of your ambulance, and they may or may not have taken a shower for a week or more. EMS is sometimes described as 99% boredom with 1% sheer terror. Do they enjoy their jobs? Despite the challenges, many find it incredibly fulfilling. They talk about the satisfaction of helping others, the camaraderie with their coworkers, and the excitement of never knowing what the next call will bring. Of course, like any job, there are tough days, but the positives often outweigh the negatives. You might be wondering, how are EMS jobs different from other healthcare providers, like doctors or nurses? Well, the biggest difference is where and how EMS professionals work. While doctors and nurses usually work in controlled environments like hospitals or clinics, EMTs and paramedics are out in the field, often working in unpredictable and high-pressure situations. They're the first to arrive at the scene, providing immediate care and making quick decisions that can be crucial to the patient's survival. EMS providers are trained to stabilize patients and get them safely to the hospital, where other healthcare providers take over. Our bread and butter is from the head to the chest, airway, breathing, and circulation. And while we can do other things like splinting and bandaging, we're really only good for about the first hour of an emergency. After that, we hand the patient off to another person at the hospital who takes over. What if I've been arrested? Some arrests are absolute no-goes. Murder, indecency with a child, kidnapping, sexual assault, domestic violence, or crimes against the family, or using drugs or possession of drugs in a school zone. Generally, any crime against a person, adult or child, will prohibit a person from being eligible to be in EMS. Some arrests are not as big of a deal, and you may still be able to be certified on a case-by-case basis. Some examples include minor in possession or drunk driving. Drunk driving depends on how long ago it was, and it may not prevent you from getting certified, but it could limit who hires you. If you have questions about whether or not you're eligible to be an EMT or paramedic because you've been arrested, you can contact your state EMS agency. In Texas, that's the Texas Department of State Health Services, or DSHS. You can Google DSHS arrest record or DSHS EMS arrest record. What kind of training is needed? An EMT class is about 250 hours total. This includes about 180 hours of classroom and lab, 24 hours of hospital time, and 36 hours of EMS rideouts. The total number of hours vary depending on each program, but 250 hours is a pretty pretty good approximation. You will see some programs that advertise that you can have your EMT done in 120 hours. I'm always a little bit leery of those because, at least in Texas, I believe that's the minimum number of hours. And if you want to be a minimum EMT, then try and go to some of those programs, and you're going to be shortcutting your education. You must have good moral character. Arrests can prohibit you from taking a class or getting your certification. We will discuss arrests and convictions further in a few minutes. You must be 18 years old. In Texas, if you're 17 on the first day of class, you can take the class, but you can't get your actual certification until you turn 18. Students must have a high school diploma or GED. In Texas, high school students may be able to enroll in some programs if they are 17 and have a letter from their school. There may be a written exam to enter. You will need to pass a physical exam or get a doctor's note saying you can perform all of the job functions, and you need to have a CPR card. What are the requirements to become a paramedic? You have to have your EMT certification first. Again, there are some changes in the works right now to allow people to go basically through a paramedic class, and the EMT portion is built in. But that is rare, and that's not everywhere in the nation right now. Some states and some training programs require you to work as an EMT for a year so that you get some experience. In Texas, you can start paramedic school immediately after completing EMT school. Most paramedic classes are about 1,100 to 1,500 hours, and that includes about 600 classroom and lab hours, and then 500 hospital and EMS hours. What kind of classes are they? Generally, the classes are held during daytime hours, but some night and weekend classes are offered. Generally, this involves going to class 2 nights a week and then on Saturdays. How do online classes get their skills training? At the end of the class, the hybrid EMT students come in for skills sign-off. When that's done, they can go and complete hospital and EMS shifts. Paramedic students generally attend labs once a week over a period of about 12 months, and they attend EMS and clinical shifts throughout the course. How long does a class take? EMT classes typically take about 3 to 5 months, and night classes are about 4 to 5 months. It varies depending on what holidays fall during the class. Paramedic classes generally take 12 to 18 months, and that depends on the format of the class. Why the difference in time? It just depends how often you're meeting. Classes at a college or university can take 2 to 4 years. What does it take to get through an EMT class? Most programs require an 80% or higher to pass. You're going to need to pass all the skills tests. You're going to need to meet attendance requirements, and most programs say that you can't miss more than 10% of the class. And then when you get done, you will need to take a computer-based National Registry test. The NREMT stands for the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians, and they certify both EMTs and paramedics. They are a nationwide organization, so you'll go and get your national registry, and then you'll need to apply to your state to actually work as an EMT or a paramedic. The classes are very challenging. Many people think EMT Basic. They may have heard EMT Basic. That's kind of the old term. Now we're just using EMT. But they think basic means easy. And these classes are far from easy. They're very demanding. For every hour in class, you will need to study 1 to 2 hours outside of class. And the course requires dedication and discipline. Once you complete the course, can you work immediately? Well, it depends on the state you're in. Generally, you're going to need to take the National Registry exam, and then you'll need to fill out the application in the state you want to work in to get your state certification. What is the National Registry exam? In most states, when a student completes their class, they must still take the National Registry exam. The exam is given locally at a regional testing center like Pearson VUE. It is a computer-based exam. There is a cost to take the exam, and for more information, you can go to www.nremt.org. What's important to know before choosing a school? A good school should have been in business for at least 10 years, preferably training paramedics. Paramedic schools must be accredited by the Committee on Accreditation of EMS Professions, or COAMPs. These schools pass rigorous requirements. These requirements often help improve the quality of their EMT program as well as their paramedic program. One thing you should do is call or email the school to ask them questions. You want to see how long it takes them to respond or even get a live person. There are stories of students who leave a voicemail for some programs and never, ever get called back. Ask them about their National Registry pass rates. Paramedic programs in the U.S. are required to list their pass rates on the front page of their website. Make sure that they have high NREMT pass rates compared to the state average. You also want to ask about whether they offer college credit. Many programs cannot offer EMT credit at colleges, but paramedic students should be eligible to obtain college credit when they graduate. So don't discount a program just because you can't get EMT credit. That is a thing that is kind of universal among most colleges and universities. You also want to look at the type of delivery. Do they have day and or night classes? Do they have hybrid delivery? Do they have in-person classes? You also want to ask what percentage of students aren't successful. Ask why aren't they successful? A good program should have some washout or attrition. It's normal to have people start, not finish. EMS is not for everyone. Good programs have National Registry pass rates greater than 85%. Again, look for programs that have less than 30% washout and high National Registry pass rates. So how can you learn more about becoming an EMT or paramedic? The best way to start is by looking into local training programs like EMTS Academy. We offer EMT and paramedic courses with flexible schedules that will prepare you for the certification exam and give you the hands-on experience you need. If you're still not sure, why not see what it's like for yourself? We've partnered with local EMS agencies to offer ride-alongs. Ride-alongs allow you to ride on the ambulance and see actual calls. What if you're still interested but maybe not ready for a ride-along? Here are some classes that may help you become an EMT or paramedic. An anatomy and physiology course, either at the high school or college level, or medical terminology. Classes such as first aid, CPR, and stop the bleed are very good. And finally, the ability to speak Spanish can be useful. What if I'm still in high school or under 18? If you're still in high school, you may have a harder time getting into an EMT class or getting a ride-along. You should look for EMS Explorer posts in your area. These groups get together and show people what EMS is like. You may still be able to do a ride-along with some agencies if your parents or guardian sign a waiver for you. Thank you for sticking with us through this look into the EMS profession. If you've been inspired by what you've heard and want to learn more, we'd love to help you take the next step. Whether it's signing up for a ride-along, visiting our website, or enrolling in our program, there are plenty of ways to get started. EMS is more than just a job. It's a chance to make a real difference in people's lives. For more information, visit emtsacademy.com. We hope to see you on the team soon.